Will the Trump administration keep that promise, especially since Somalia is one of the 7 Muslim-majority countries whose citizens are blocked from entering the United States by the disputed travel ban? Michael Clyne is an Africa analyst. He joins me now from New York. Michael, welcome.
Hi, Asieh. Thank you.
First, I want to get your reaction to Somalia being on the list of those 7 countries facing that temporary travel ban.
Yeah, I don't think it's surprising necessarily, given that the 7 countries represent states that are either state sponsors of terrorism or essentially failed states. Somalia really represents a nexus of that with al-shababab, an al-Qaeda-linked terrorist organization, and even ISIS-linked organizations, and what has been a non-functioning government for basically the past 22 years. Unfortunately, there is a very significant Somali diaspora in the United States that's being possibly separated and torn apart from their families. But among the 7 countries, I don't see, even with the optimism on the ground in Mogadishu and in Africa circles, I don't see the ban, it necessarily affecting the ban anytime soon, as long as it's underway.
What else can we expect as far as relations with Somalia go under President Trump?
Right. Well, you know, for the diplomatic, the diplomatic pushers, when you talk about whether diplomatic versus military strategies, this unexpected result of Farmajo winning really was a boon, in that he was seen as the least corrupt as the final contenders in an election that just was staggering in terms of how open corruption was, with thousands, even millions of dollars changing hands for votes. Farmajo was actually not the candidate who was passing out the most money. That was the incumbent who had access to state coffers. And he won anyway. So it shows just that maybe the winner isn't always, the highest bidder doesn't always win in this type of election. And it's interesting to see how military intervention will continue to roll out. Military intervention in Somalia has been very small scale and really represented the Obama administration's strategy in intelligence-based surgical strikes that were seen to both further U.S. interests and build foreign capacity. I think when we look at what the Trump administration policy will be in this area, you have to look a bit farther down the line as to what appointments will be made in the specialized assistant secretary roles. Peter Pham of the Atlantic Council is likely the assistant secretary for African affairs, and he has been pushing a policy of what he calls earned engagement, which means not necessarily rewarding Somali transitional government or federal government until that until they really show some significant progress. And rewarding possibly clan actors or even, and especially civil society, with equal backing if they show progress as well.
Michael, let's talk a little bit more about the security situation in Somalia. There are ongoing attacks by al-Shabab. We talked about the U.S. military involvement there. Do you think it has made a difference in lessening the threat, if you will?
The election was voted by only 100 or so members of parliament, and that's because after originally backing a one-person, one-vote system, even the United States and Western powers realized that that just simply wasn't tenable given the security situation. It's very difficult to securitize Mogadishu. Even the airport where the election was held was in a hangar because al-Shabaab launched some mortar attacks there the day before. And then once you spread outside of Mogadishu, it's really lots of al-Shabaab territory where the federal government just controls slices. And you get north into Puntland and Somaliland, where you have a different set of organizations linked to ISIS, who are propagating terrorist threats there, including this week. So unfortunately, although there is some cause for optimism on the political front, and as you can see in the footage in Mogadishu, you know, street scenes in Mogadishu are a lot different than the war-torn images we have of Somalia during the 90s. But reaching beyond that capital and securitizing the rest of the country will be a serious problem for this government.
Michael Clyne with Venture Risk Management, thank you so much.